What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I came up with for this week, and this week is no exception. Okay, it seems that SourceHut's Soju bouncer is having issues. I can't actually connect to Soju on my computer or on my phone, so I have no idea what's been going on in the System Crafters Live IRC chat before the stream started, so I won't be able to see who's in there. So if you're in the System Crafters Live IRC chat, you should say hello so I can see you now when I get around to saying hello to people, so I see your name, because for whatever reason, SourceHut has issues. So can't blame it on me. Thank you to those who were saying hello there. Now I see you all. Okay. It's always something, but at least this week it's not me. I didn't do it this week, okay? My computer's working. I mean, I'm maybe like 2 minutes late, and I see Case joins the channel and he gets that nice little +O on his name, and I'm a little bit worried about that because the last time that happened, he kicked me from my own channel right at the beginning of the stream. So don't do that again, okay? Okay, buddy, I got my eye on you, all right? Glenna says, switch to ZNC. I don't know, man. ZNC is a bit more complicated to get to the same level of comfort as Soju. I would rather just host Soju myself, but that would require me doing something, and I'm kind of lazy, if you haven't noticed, so I probably won't end up doing it. I'll just continue paying $10 a month to use the unreliable Soju bouncer that's at SourceHut. Okay, let's see. We got folks on the YouTube side. Hello to Case, who's on Twitch as well. Okay. Hello to Fab, to Fade, also on Twitch side. Hello to Addy Knox and to Chris. Chris says, Soju is good with Cucumber. I'm guessing you're not talking about the IRC bouncer. You're probably talking about something else. Mike says, how'd he kick you from your own channel? Because Case somehow got operator status in the System Crafters Live IRC channel. I don't know if I did it or if Fade did it just to mess with me. I don't know whose fault it is, but that's what's happening. Kay says, Soju is a drink. Is it that weird little tea drink thing with the funky can with the lizard on it? Is that what it is? Am I remembering that correctly? The whole 90s stuff. Is it 90s? Am I remembering that right? Get got. Yeah, I did get got. That wasn't nice. Come on, man. I'm just kidding. We're all just joking around here. It's funny. Okay. So hello to Imretka, to Arnaud, Fade, Blythe, Glenn, Mike, Benoit, Eric. Eric says you haven't missed much. Okay, good. Thanks, Eric. The Case, Nakatani, who's also in the YouTube chat. Let's see. Alternate Ved. Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Faye says the declension of Japanese snacks and beverages is infinite. Okay, so I tend to use big words. You know, I enjoy a good turn of phrase, but Faye will dig up words from the dictionary that I've never heard of before, like declension. What the hell is that, man? What the hell is declension? Can you define that for me? Do I need to get ChatGPT out here to define what we're talking about? Because I don't know anymore. I think I'm being bested by the people who are in the chat. Kay says, I pronounce alternate ved, alternative. Okay. Yes, Kay says declension is a perfectly cromulent word, David. Dig up, you mean make up. He probably did make up declension. It sounds like something that you do. Well, I'm not going to say that. But you could probably imagine what I'm thinking right now just based on the fact that I started the joke like that. So let's just leave it at that. Hello to Thomas in the YouTube chat. Pufferfish, okay. Case says declension. Case has an English degree, so he can tell us this. Declension is like changing the form of a noun based on its grammatical use. Okay. Declining a noun is enumerating those form. The act or state of declining, declination, descent, slope. Okay, so I'll be using that word every day now. Thank you. Sounds really cool, you know? People have to dig out their dictionaries just to know what you're talking about, which must mean that you're a highly educated person and there's some value to you, right? That's why I use big words. I'm just kidding. Or am I? The verb version of declension is conjugation. I love a good conjugation visit. Imagine that I did not make that joke just now. Okay. Hello to Antares. Kay says, oh, I think fade meant something different. Did he, or was he wrong in his use of the word? Because I often get words wrong too, so what can I say? Benoit says, Case, you were also volunteered to do the Crafters Manifesto. Did we volunteer Case for that? Case would probably be a good person to write that, I think. He's written a lot of very esoteric style hacker programmer texts on his website. Hey, Big Edie. Big Edie says, or is Fade trying to pull a fast one? Probably he is, though. Fade says, Case says, I can write. It's true. Yes. Esoteric. Yes. Don't you think your writing can be a little esoteric? Yeah, it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. Esoteric is a good thing, right? Because it makes it seem more interesting. And it makes it seem like, you know, people want to get into whatever culture you're in if your writing is kind of esoteric. For me, though, I just write very plainly and too accessibly. I guess I have to, but it doesn't sound cool, you know? There's no cool factor to it. It's just tutorials. Nah, is it acdw.net or is it funputer.biz? I think funputer is the one that I'm thinking of. So long as this is something that I'm supposed to be. You're deleting everything and restarting? Funputer, I didn't even put it. Okay, there we go. At least we got a recommendation. Funputer.biz. This is the site I'm thinking about. Yes, exactly. You're gonna let it go? Don't do that. Come on now. Funputer ideas. Anyway, go check out Case's website, his websites, all of his websites. Alternate Ved, Big Edie would love to get David on Marc Rebier train. I already know about Marc Rebier. He's great. But he blew up too fast. Like, I remember back, so I'm going to be one of those people. I remember back when Marc Rebier was still, you know, kind of undiscovered yet. Not fully undiscovered, but he wasn't so big. And he was still doing his streams out of his bedroom. And it was a good vibe. Now he's just like blown up way too much. So I stopped watching him, mainly because, I mean, not really because he's blown up too much. It's just like, you kind of lose that, you're just watching somebody in their bedroom doing something cool vibe, right? Case's Empire. Who are we talking about? Marc Rebier. Marc Rebier. This guy, you've probably seen this guy on YouTube. He got too mainstream, he sold out. He didn't really sell out. I mean, he's making a living being a creative person, which is cool, right? We're really off track. Hello, Paul. Paul says, do you speak Greek? Ochi. Ochi polikala. Paul says, I took ancient Greek in college. Declensions were a total headache. Are declensions something that would show up in Greek? Maybe. I don't know. I'm a poor Greek speaker. Poor in that, both that I don't have money, but also that I'm never good at it, so. Big Edie says, I'm late for work. Who gives a what? Are you late for work? You're catching the stream? Well, that's cool. Don't be too late, though. Let's see. Kay says, I'm not terminally online in that way. Are you not? Mike says, I'm not sure I want to know what that guy is doing in his bedroom. He's just making up songs about, well, I don't really want to say what the topics of his songs usually are. I mean, one of his songs was like, you know, wake the F up or something like that. There's a lot of other interesting topics. He's a creative guy. All right, let's see what's going on the YouTube side here. Hello to SB Ditto. Nice to see you. Finally caught you live. Thanks for all your content. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's see what we got going on in the news today. All right, so on, what was it, Sunday this week, I posted a new video getting started with Guix Home. I think it turned out okay. It's basically a video that takes you through the basics of Guix Home, explaining sort of what the value of Guix Home is, and then showing you how to put together a basic configuration where you set some, you configure a couple things about the bash shell for your home environment, your user configuration. And also, I show you how to use the the home.file service type, which is basically like using GNU Stow. It takes a folder of files that are in your .files directory and then puts them in the GNU store and then symlinks them into your home directory. So it basically allows you to easily migrate your existing configuration files into Guix Home, the Guix Home way. And then after that, I show you how to test this configuration in a Guix Home container so that you don't have to blow away your home directory just to try it out before you actually try to apply it for real. You check out all the files, make sure the programs are there, and then you can use Guix Home Reconfigure to actually apply the configuration to your home folder. And I tell you about the backup files that Guix Home creates for you, and then also how to roll back a failed configuration application if you got a problem, an upgrade to a program doesn't work out so well, or maybe your configuration file change is broken. So I show you how to use Guix Home rollback and also how to go forward and backward in time with generations. So I think it's pretty useful as a starting point, but we'll talk about it some more in future videos where I get into more specific home services that you can use in your configuration and maybe some strategies you can use for organizing. Well, organize your configuration. I already made a video about that, but for home configuration specifically, how to break apart the parts of your configuration into individual home services that you write yourself so that you can configure the programs that you use if there are not existing home services in Guix, which there's a growing number of them now. I see more and more added all the time, but it's still low compared to what you might see in the Nix Home Manager. So there's some things you might need to write yourself. Managing your Emacs configuration with Guix Home as a home service is also a pretty interesting concept. There is not yet an official home Emacs service type for Guix. There have been a few different patches sent to the mailing list. I've sent one of them. None of them have been merged yet, as far as I know. Trev says, do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? No, I really don't want to hear the most annoying sound in the world, but you're probably hearing it right now, me talking about Guix. So maybe that's what he's trying to say. So yes, we'll get into home services later, but definitely give it a try if you are interested at all in Guix Home. You do not need to have Guix system installed for this to work. If you have a distro that has the Guix package manager available, or you can install the Guix package manager using the official installation script that is referenced in the manual, the Guix manual, then you will be able to use Guix Home on your existing Linux distribution. So you can give it a shot, try it out, see what you think about it, and maybe you'll actually use it a little bit. All right. Let's see. I'm checking out the chat here. Theopekli, hello Theopekli, says, I wonder if Guix can run on BSDs. I don't think so, because it kind of makes some assumptions about being on a Linux system. So I don't think it works there. All right. Hello to Watkinson and Roberto. Watkinson says, I don't speak Greek, but I'm pretty fluent with geek. I'm not, though. I mean, I don't really know anything about geek culture. I don't really know anything about computers. I'm basically just reading off of a third monitor here, things that ChatGPT is telling me to say. So I'm sorry to burst the bubble here, but I'm just a face. Like there's sort of like a whole corporate machine behind the channel here, and I'm just a person that's being paid to sell you on software that nobody's making any money off of. So I don't know. Do you believe the conspiracy theory? I don't. Hello to Eric as well. And I also saw Erky join over on the IRC side. Hey, Erky. I don't know what Case is referring to right now. And I don't know what Nakatani is saying either. Oh, me. Did I say that word? What is happening? What is happening? Okay, so next, there should be a new System Crafters newsletter tomorrow. I've been writing it. Part of the content of the newsletter is that I have rewritten my Emacs configuration again, but I'm taking a specific approach to it that is inspired by some of the things I've been talking about on streams recently, like making a terminal-focused Emacs configuration, etc. I think it's a pretty good new design. Problem is, I actually pushed it to my GitHub .files repo, which was probably the wrong thing to do because now I'm mirroring it from Codeberg. The commits were there. People in the IRC saw the file that I pushed there earlier, but now it's gone. I think that Codeberg must have realized that the GitHub repo was not in sync with the Codeberg repo, so it rolled back the GitHub repo to be in line with what was on the Codeberg repo. So the code that I pushed there is not there. I would like to have shown it to you today, but maybe it's better because, no, I didn't make a grave mistake, Trev. Stupid Codeberg mirroring did that, I think. So I was very shocked and dismayed to find that my new configuration wasn't there because I was going to use it right now, but I guess I'm not going to use it. But I've been having fun working on that. And in the newsletter, I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what I did, but I've written up most of the rationale and I kind of clarified a lot of the points in the new literate configuration file. So it's an org file. You can read it on the website. You can kind of check out the pieces there whenever it's back up again. And then finally, I'll be able to regenerate my personal configuration website, which has been down for probably a year now, config.davidwheel.com. It's been down. People have told me many times it's down. I know it's down. The reason why it's down is because I was hosting it on SourceHut pages. And after they got DDoS'd, was it earlier this year? They got the DDoS'd, the really bad one. Anyway, they changed all of their DNS setup for their SourceHut pages sites. And since I was hosting it there, I just never went back and tried to fix it because I don't really use SourceHut anymore. So, hey, Dave. Anyway, finally, I will have a configuration website again that people can refer to. And these links in my descriptions will work again. So that's cool. Other things in the newsletter, I've got some news in there, a few links from the community, which I thought was cool. I used the crafter ring. Thanks, Shom. I know Shom's not here, but I'm saying thank you to Shom for setting up the crafter ring because now we have one place where you can see the blogs of many people from the community, craftering.systemcrafters.net. If you go there, basically it is a web ring for System Crafters community. I don't see case in here. But you can add yourself to this. I believe you just need to go to the Codeberg repository and do a little pull request to add yourself to the website.json file. And then I will be looking at this every month whenever I write a newsletter to see what new posts are out. And I will be pulling from that to highlight people from the community. So you should be writing posts about things that you learned, and then I will put them into the newsletter. I'm actually really excited about that. Now I finally have a way to keep track of people, so it's good. Thank you, Shom, for giving me the big brother capabilities of watching everyone's blogs at the same time. Trev says, Case, you migrated over to MySpace, right? I don't think anybody has said that sentence in about 15 years, at least. Okay. What's next? So I want to mention again, it's a new thing that I am doing in December. It's a workshop, a one-day workshop called Git Good, From Basics to Beyond in 4 hours. This is a new thing I'm trying. I've been wanting to do a one-day workshop for a while because I feel like the live method of teaching is fun for me. I think it was a lot of fun for the people who were in the live iteration, or it was one or two iterations. I think it was only one iteration of the Guile Scheme course earlier this year. I think we had a lot of fun. I felt like it went really smoothly and people got a lot out of it and they were, kind of engaged in what was going on. So I kind of want to do another live teaching event. This is going to be a 4-hour workshop on December 8th or December 15th. There are 2 dates. Both dates have a different time because I want to make sure that people on different sides of the world are able to attend at a time that is convenient for them. So you can basically register for the workshop, and then you'll be added at some point, because I haven't got that set up yet, you'll be added to a group on the System Crafters forum, and you'll be able to pick one of those 2 dates to join. And then we'll get together for 4 hours, and I will basically teach you the core concepts of Git, not just like Git commit and stupid, simple things like that. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what actually is going on in Git, the actual model of Git, commits, hashes, refs, head, all the things that sort of are going on behind the scenes in Git. We should also talk about the way that basically the object model for Git, how Git stores things in the file system. Why? Because it's interesting, and also because once you understand the fundamentals of Git better, you can more easily use it as a tool to accomplish your goals. So we're going to go through practical examples for all the things that I want to show you, and I'm going to have time set aside for exercises where everybody can clone down a demo repository and do the same things. They can actually try out the things we're talking about and then ask questions. So I think that it's going to be a really cool event. And I'm really looking forward to it because I like Git a lot. I know that Git is considered to be difficult or inscrutable at times. It is, but I don't really think that it is impossible to learn it well. And I think that I might be able to help people to level up their understanding of Git pretty quickly through this workshop. So if you want to learn how to use Git like an experienced hacker, join us at the course. I might add more dates if people are interested. There's probably other weekends in December that we can use, but we'll just see how it goes. I have a site on systemcrafters.net. I don't have it linked anywhere yet, so you'll have to go directly to the URL until maybe a couple days. Big Edie says, will you cover the bare basics as well? We will cover the bare basics as part of discussing what Git is actually doing. So we will have to create a commit so we can talk about what a commit is. And then, we'll talk about, let me actually just run through a sample of topics so that you kind of understand what I have in mind. Unlocking the Git conceptual model, commits, hashes, and refs, discovering what Git stores locally, understanding remotes and how to use them effectively, understanding merge versus rebase, when to use them, how to resolve conflicts, cleaning up commits with amends and interactive rebase, fixing commit mistakes with Git reset and cherry pick, and just other general best practices. I'm going to add more things to this list as I develop out the content more completely. But this is sort of the starting point I'm going with. So yes, thank you, Cal, for reminding me. Hey, Cal. So I think it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a lot of really interesting things to talk about, and I think that you will come away with a lot of new tricks that you can use whenever you're working on projects. If you're a Git expert, then you probably won't get a lot out of it. But if you are a beginner, intermediate, and maybe even sort of like experienced user of Git, like not an expert, but experienced, like you've used it for a while, you will probably still get something out of this because we'll talk about the underlying aspects of Git. So I will also give you a workshop guide at the end that has sort of all the notes and the examples and stuff with it, and then a cheat sheet that has all the commands in one place so that you can easily refer to it. So I think it will be, Glenna said, will there be handouts? Yes. And cake? I don't know. That'll be nice if I could send everyone cake, but I don't think it'll work out. So yes, the December 8th iteration is at 9 a.m. UTC. There's links here to click and see what it is in your time zone. And December 15th, it is at 1600 UTC in the evening. So hopefully one of those times will work for you. Go check it out and then join up if you would like to. I would love to see you there. A few of you have already joined up. Thank you to those of you who have already registered. Really appreciate it. Like I said, I will add more dates if there's more interest, and I'll probably do it again in January if this goes well. If it's well attended and people seem to like it, I'll do it again. And I may do a normal Git course later on next year, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, let me see what I'm missing in the IRC here. Hello to Shom. I don't know if I said hello to Shom. I mentioned Shom's name and he appeared, which is great. Okay. Cool. Kay says, I just use Fossil, hot take. Yeah, well, you and 5 other people. And the developers of SQLite. Hey, Jerry. Jerry says, I'm late and I didn't get a pink slip. I'm such a rebel. Yeah, we're not giving out pink slips here. I'm often late too. Nick says, are you going back to the org mode series? The thing about the org mode series, I got a little bit disappointed. It felt like there wasn't as much interest in it as I thought there would be. It was kind of weird. I was surprised. it's not like I'm looking for a high number of views, but for an org mode video where I'm talking about like productivity workflows, it wasn't really as well, there wasn't as much interest in it as I thought there would be. So I kind of decided to move on to some other things in the meantime. I would like to get back to it because there's a lot of interesting things to talk about still, but yeah, I'll have to consider when I will do that. Because right now I'm focused on Guix, and I will be, actually, I forgot to say, there will be a new video this week about Git reflog. Have you heard about Git reflog? People in the chat? I'm sure some of you have. David Will canceled. Canceled? What are you talking about? So if you don't know, Git reflog is basically a magic little journal that logs everything you do that moves head and does other things inside of your Git repository. And it is the thing that will save your life or your sanity whenever you make huge mistakes with your Git repository and even your Git remotes. So this week, I'm going to make a video showing you a number of ways how Git reflog can save you from utter despair and maybe make you a hero to people who know you, because you will be able to fix their Git repository when they think they break it. So that'll be fun. Look forward to that. I don't know how long. Sorry, I'm reading chat at the same time, and words from chat are just jumping out of my mouth. That's how things go sometimes. I don't know what day it will be, because I'm still trying to calibrate my video publishing schedule. I tried it on Sunday, went okay, but it kind of flatlined. So maybe Sunday's not a good day. I might try Tuesday or Wednesday this week. We'll have to see. Monday definitely does not seem like a good day, though. Morgan says, I think org mode configs end up being fairly personal and built up as requirements appear. I'm not sure how portable a good configuration would be. Well, so the org mode series that I'm doing is not really about building up a specific configuration. It's more about giving you ideas for how you can apply org mode to make a productivity system of your own. So I'm just sort of showing various different ideas I've had and just handing them to you so you can do with them what you will. What we've covered so far, I believe, is a task tagging strategy for contextual tasks, and then also defining custom agenda views. There's a few other things as well. Bichal says, I'd be interested in knowing your mobile org solution if you have one. I don't really. I am cautiously optimistic about Orgsly Revived. I don't know if you've heard about Orgsly Revived. There was an Android app called Orgsly. I did not type that right. There was an app called Orgsly for Android. I don't know what the situation is on iOS. You would have to ask Summer Emacs. I'm no iOS expert. I tend to avoid that platform. But Orgsly Revived is a fork of the Orgsly project, and they're actually like actively working on it. And one of the interesting things that is being added is Git repository support, so that you can sync your notes with a Git repository. Previously, all they would allow you to do is sync your notes to a local folder on the device or use Dropbox, which I'm not using either of those things. I mean, you could do that with a local folder and then use sync thing. I would prefer to have something that's a little bit more integrated. So they're adding support for Git repositories directly in the app, which is cool. I hope that works out well, because otherwise it's a pretty good app, I think. It's not the best. I think I would prefer a cleaner writing experience. It's more focused on outlines and to-do items. I would like to have better writing, but can't have everything. Leonix says, reflog, how many times it saved me from deleting stuff? Yes. Let's see. Big E says, the benefit for something like those org mode videos for me was to see some of the things that are possible with it rather than copying the config directly. Yeah, that's sort of the idea. Like, show you what you can do with it, give you some ideas, and then you can go run yourself. Big Edie says, handling Git conflicts on Android sounds awful. Yeah, it may not be great. I don't know how they will actually deal with that. Siatway, Simon says, hi, I use Emacs and Termux on Android. Works well most of the time. Yeah, that's another reason why I'm trying to make a terminal-focused configuration as well, because it will be really nice inside of Termux on Android. If you haven't used Termux before, it's basically a little Linux environment on your phone. And it works quite well, actually. I was surprised at how well Emacs works on that. So I would prefer to use it. Let's see. Curiosta from Twitch says, kind of off-topic question, but is there anything like Tmuxinator for Emacs? Basically, I have a project where I have multiple splits in a window, and each buffer has a process running. So the Twitch bridge cut off your comment. I can't see the whole thing. I'm not sure. Doesn't sound like something I've heard of, but maybe somebody else knows. Gunner says, great stuff if you messed up your Git repo. Yeah, reflog is awesome for that. And so reflog itself won't do the fixes for you. You actually have to use other Git commands to use the information that reflog gives you, but we're going to go through that as well. And the rest of the message from Curiosita is, I'd like to save the layout, and when restoring it, it would create the buffer splits of running processes automatically. Any suggestions? Check out a package by Alpha Papa called Activities. Alpha Papa Activities. Activities.el. I think this is what you're asking for. Basically, it saves a full kind of workspace configuration and can revive it, let's say, whenever you need it. So check out Activities.el. I think that might be what you're looking for. I'll give Alpha Papa a star here because I haven't done it yet. All right. Case says, I am David's boss. Well, I don't know. Are you? Maybe you are. Maybe you all are my boss. And I just don't know it yet. Case also says, how is Papa these days? I've not heard from him. Yes, since we didn't have the Matrix bridge anymore, I don't think anybody's really heard from Alpha Papa. Sometimes he shows up. You're writing checks, Case? Are you writing checks? I don't know. I don't see any from you. Not that I'm supposed to. I'm just saying, if you say you're my boss and you're writing checks, I have not received them. So you must be sending them to some other David Wilson somewhere else in the world. It's not me. Yes, Alpha Papa sometimes shows up in the stream chat, but I haven't seen him in a little while. All right. I will get to the point, people. I promise. Hello, Boo. Boo is trying to join continuously. I don't know if it's the live chat widget on the website that's causing trouble for Boo there. All right. So that's going to be the next week. So today, let's learn about Emacs registers. Now, registers are one of the features of Emacs that you hear about, but it's not something that immediately jumps out at you as like, oh, that's something I should really try to use because it seems like it has a lot of utility. I had not really used them very much. I know some other people in the community have used them, they've mentioned them in the chat and on the forum and whatnot. But I personally haven't used it very much. And what I want to do today is sort of give all of us an overview of what registers are, because I don't know what they are. I kind of have an idea of what they are, but I need to go look at the real definition of it. And then try to see what kind of use cases they may have for our day-to-day workflow. There are a few. I mean, so I'll pull up the docs in a minute and we will take a look at that. But I just want to sort of set the context here. I don't know what registers are completely. We're going to find out together. We're going to try some things out and then see whether it seems useful. Jeff says registers are super useful once you get used to them. Exactly. So like many things in Emacs, there are features like, let's say, the mark ring or the yank ring, or what else would we say? Undo. There are features that do things that are kind of weird. You don't really know exactly the right way to use them at first. And it takes some time to digest the design of these features and figure out a way to integrate them into your workflow. So registers are another thing that we need to kind of break down and understand. I'm pretty sure that Prot has a video or videos on this somewhere. If you want someone who probably understands it better and you want to just get an explanation of it, definitely check out Prot's video. As we do on Friday streams, this is a place where we mainly do exploration, experimentation, and learn some stuff and see what kind of cool things we can find. So Arnaud says, I'm confusing registers with bookmarks. Yes, one of the other things I would like to do is to contrast registers against bookmarks because they seem to have similar capabilities in some ways. And then also, what was I going to say? The mark ring, potentially. Beachal says, registers plus macros are very nice. Macros are another thing that I haven't really spent much time on in Emacs, but it seems really powerful. So I would definitely like to understand what registers plus macros means in practice. All right, so let's learn about registers. I think the best way to do this is to pull up the info manual. So Control H, let's see, well, actually, Control H, Control H. What is the binding I'm looking for? Manual. Show Emacs manual. All right, Control HR. And then registers. Registers. There we go. All right, cool. So Control H, R, then G, then select registers. That's what I did, right? Control H, R, G, registers. There we go. Okay, cool. Control H, I. Yeah, that would have worked too, Jeff. All right, so Emacs registers are compartments where you can save text, rectangles, positions, and other things for later use. Once you save text or a rectangle in a register, you can copy it into the buffer once. I'm trying to make the text bigger. Is the text big enough? Alternate Fed says, why don't you prioritize terminal in your new Emacs configuration? I should probably add some more rationale for that in the notes I'm going to send out with my newsletter. So check it out whenever the newsletter comes out or whenever I link to my dot files again. Because I don't think it's worth explaining it now whenever I'm going to explain it again later. But there are reasons for why I would do it. It's not necessarily reasons that other people should do it. What did I call the stream? There was a stream very recently, live streams, making the most of terminal Emacs. I discussed some of it there too. So this is sort of the genesis of the idea of doing this. Actually, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I discussed a lot of it there. So check that stream out too. Okay. So is the text bigger? 1 or 2 ticks bigger would be better. Okay. Text scale increase. I forgot what binding I have for this. That's probably big enough, right? Okay, once you save text or a rectangle in a register, you can copy it into the buffer once or many times. Once you save a position in the register, you can jump back to that position once or many times. So it sounds like this is kind of like a supercharged copy-paste type deal. First of all, you can copy text into registers and then recall them. Now, it's not like normal copy paste. You actually can assign a name to each register. Each register has a name that consists of a single character, which we will denote by capital R. Capital R can be a letter such as A or a number such as 1. Case matters, so register A is not the same as register capital A. You can set a register in non-alphanumeric characters, for instance, Control D, for example, by pressing Control Q, Control D. Well, that seems less convenient. A register can store a position, a piece of text, a rectangle, a window or frame configuration, a buffer name, or a file name, but only one thing at any given time. Whatever you store in a register remains there until you store something else in that register. To see what register R contains, use Emacs view register. Do we have anything right now, view register? Nothing is coming up in completions, okay? Let's see. Let me check the YouTube side of things as well, just in case. Hey, Gun. Nice to see you. All right. So it sounds like registers can contain a lot of useful things. Already, the things that come to mind are if you have a strategy for naming registers in a consistent way for certain aspects of your workflow, then it might be pretty convenient for jumping around in a project or holding on to a particular window configuration. For instance, if you are working on a programming project and you have a specific window configuration, maybe you have your main code editor on one window, you have the compilation buffer at the bottom where you're maybe running unit tests or recompiling, maybe you have like a DRED buffer on the side or something like that, and you want to save that window configuration so that you can come back to it. I believe that registers persist across Emacs sessions. I could be wrong about that. I would like to hear from Jeff or anybody else who uses it, but I think they persist. If they don't, then I know that bookmarks definitely do, but registers may persist. And if they do, then that's kind of interesting because it gives you a way to close Emacs, reopen Emacs, and then be able to pull these things back. It's not just like winner mode where you can go back in time in your window configurations. You can actually save it to be something useful. Okay, so Jeff says registers are ephemeral, so it doesn't get saved. Bookmarks do get saved. We'll have to take a look at how bookmarks compare a little bit later. But at least we know that, excuse me, at least we know that during the process of using your Emacs session, you can save a lot of different types of things into registers. Now, Katani says it's probably, possibly, to make them persist, maybe. Alternate Ved says, save hist additional variables, register a list. Now, that's kind of interesting. Save hist additional variables. So if you don't know, save hist mode is a way to save the contents of certain variables, usually mini buffer histories for different commands, so that they can be recalled in future Emacs sessions. And apparently you can add register a list. If we were to look up register a list, which is where they get stored. In fact, it seems that you can even set this value yourself. So if you wanted to like actually hard code some registers, it seems you could do that in your configuration, which is kind of cool. But if you add that to save hist additional variables, it is possible that you could save that across sessions. Now, I've never tried that, but if alternate ved says it, I believe it because alternate ved knows things. So we could add this here just as a thing to say persisting registers for us. So that was set opt save hist additional variables register a list. That sounds pretty cool. All right. So let's try it. I mean, well, actually, did they tell me how to create a register yet? They have not told me how to create a register yet. So let's just keep going until they tell me. Okay, so they say how to look at the list of current registers, display a description of what register R contains, fine. All the commands that prompt for a register will by default display a preview window that lists the existing registers, if there are any, and their current values after a short delay. This and other aspects of prompting for a register can be customized. Okay, so that's not really so useful yet, but maybe once we get some registers and start trying to use them, we'll see what value they have. By contrast, it says bookmarks record files and positions in them so you can return to those positions when you look at the file again. Bookmarks are similar in spirit to registers, so they are also mentioned in this chapter. Cool, great. All right. Saving position registers. Record the position of point and the current buffer in register R, point to register. So how about this? We will use Control X R space and then a letter to refer to the position. So I'm just going to put the point right here at the beginning of alternate ved's name. Control X space, sorry, Control X, wait. Space, thank you. Control X R space, right? Point to register, I'm going to put a capital A, okay? Now I can run view register. And okay, so now it gives me a completion pop-up. It says A, buffer position, buffer November 8th, position 1303. I'll go somewhere else. I'll jump back over here to the info buffer. Then we can use Control X RJ to jump to a particular register. So Control X RJ, then it will give me that completion again. If I hit tab, what does it do? Okay, yeah. So it's just looking for me to type a letter in. Really? Control X RJ, capital A. Boom. Okay, so it jumps us right back there. So this would be useful if you're working on some kind of project where you're jumping around between files a lot. So maybe you are investigating an issue, like a bug in some code, and you found a place where you think the bug might be happening, but you still need to go around to some other files and investigate the issue. So you create a register at the location, you give it a letter or a number that kind of is something that gets stuck in your head that you kind of know that, okay, this is the letter or the number that I use to refer to like the sort of the core location that I'm using for recording positions like this. You create the register with that letter or number. Then you go to any other files that you need to look at. Maybe you create registers in those too, because you're kind of marking individual files to try to come back to them. Then you can use your registers to jump back to those positions. I'm I'm curious to hear how people like Jeff, etc., are using them in situations like this, because what better way to learn than to hear what people are actually doing in reality? So Ashra says, are Emacs registers similar to Vims? I wouldn't know. Nakotani says, seems similar but more overpowered. And Alternate Vez says, that's why I prefer consult register store and consult register load. It's a bit less verbose. Yeah, I mean, typical built-in Emacs interfaces for things, they tend to be not so friendly, but it's not so bad so far. It's okay. I mean, I'm okay with it at the moment. Okay, so we've got one register, position register set here. That's cool. Let's see. Register contains this information until you store something else in it. Okay, so we talk about jumping. It switches to the buffer recorded. Then register R pushes a mark. Okay, so it also pushes a mark, which is cool because the mark ring is another way that you can jump back to previous positions that you've been looking at. I talk about the mark ring, I think, in the Emacs Essentials series, where I have a video about moving around buffers efficiently or something like that. I forgot what the video is called. It was a long time ago. But the mark ring is basically a list of positions that you can kind of cycle back through. Kind of like Control O if you use Vim. I think Control O gives you that ability to jump back to previous locations where you've searched to or you've done other things. Mark ring is pretty useful because if you search in a file or maybe you make some edits across the file, you navigate around, you can use the mark ring to jump back. So what it's saying here is that whenever you record a register position, it will actually, hey gun, in the IRC side, will actually add a mark at that location as well, which is pretty useful, I think. Watkinson says, I don't think registers persist between sessions. I use it for window configurations and found that reboot does away with them. Okay, makes sense. Let me go over here. All right. So the command, yeah, we got that one. If you use Control-X RJ to go to a saved position, but in the buffer it was saved from was killed, Control-X RJ tries to create the buffer again by visiting the same file. Of course, this only works for buffers that were visiting files. Well, how about that? Let's try this. I'm going to kill the buffer for this this week's presentation, let's say. And then we'll use Control-X RJ capital A, visit file again. It's prompting me to ask if I want to do that. I say yes, and it pulls it back up. And then the cursor is in the right location. I just need to run org present to get the presentation back. So that did work. It's cool. You can pull things back up again. So if you have to close the file for any reason, you can easily pull it back up. All right. So that's it for this page, it seems. So now we can go to saving text in registers. When you want to insert a copy of the same piece of text several times, it may be inconvenient to yank it from the kill ring since each subsequent kill moves that entry further down the ring. So yes, if you are working in a file and you have selected a region of text that you intend to copy and paste somewhere else, and you use Control W to yank it, or kill it, let's say, killing is the right word, then you need to move some other stuff around in the file. Maybe you need to use Control K to knock some lines out. Whenever you kill the lines, you're clearing the other stuff out of the kill ring, or at least you're pushing it down in the kill ring, so you would have to go search for it in the kill ring. What they're saying is that a register gives you the ability to save a region of text as a register so that you can call it back at any time and not fight with the ordering of the kill ring to recover the text. So this could be useful, I think. I'm so used to just using the kill ring that it's not necessarily something that seems super useful to me, but maybe it is. I would like to hear from people in the chat who have used this particular part of the functionality, because maybe there's some hidden benefit to it that I have not actually considered. And I'm sorry if you hear a screaming child in the background. Somehow my 1.5-year-old is going nuts at the moment. Thank you, Ashraz, for the link to the mark ring stuff from Emacs Essentials. The tongue is not cooperating. All right. So let's take a look at this then. I'm going to just select some text here, and I'm going to use Control-X RS. And then I will do capital I because this is info text. Who knows? I'm going to go into the scratch buffer. And then I believe if I say Control X R I, which stands for insert, I should be able to insert text from the capital I register. So Control X R I capital I, and then it basically pastes that text in. Same thing. You can do it again and again and again, whatever you want to do. Ashra says, goodbye, Summer Emacs. Well, I don't think Summer Emacs is here, but I understand the confusion because Case and Summer Emacs are very similar, aren't they? Maybe not. Okay, Control X R I capital I, Control X R I capital I. You definitely wouldn't want to do that a whole bunch of times though. So it would certainly be a lot easier to just use Alt W and then Control Y, Control Y, Control Y, right? But there are probably reasons why storing it in a register would be effective. Alternative Ed says, bye Summer Emacs. Bye Summer Emacs. Nice to see you. Glad you joined the stream. So let's see. Ashra says, that's going to be another left pad moment, ain't it? Yeah, we got to have our little meme moments here. Just new little things that happen. We just need a bot that comes and says, bye Summer Emacs, no matter whether she's here or not. And maybe while she's here, we should just say bye Summer Emacs, and she'll think that everybody's trying to tell her to leave. I don't really want to do that, though. I don't want her to feel like we're trying to tell her to leave. It just would be funny because I think she would react to it. Oh, God, left bad's here. Big Edie says, that is weird. Autocompletes to Summer Emacs for me, too. AC? Yeah. Interesting. There's no A in that name, which is very strange. All right, so append region to text in register R. Now, that's kind of interesting. You can actually append text. So let's go here and then use append to register. And then I'll do capital I. And I'll go back into Scratch. Well, actually, I could just probably use Control 8 XH, delete everything in here, and then Control X R I capital I, and then it has all that text in there. So you can kind of use it to accumulate sections of text that maybe you want to paste somewhere else. That actually might have some use. I think that is more likely something that would come up. For instance, if you're in a file and you're trying to move a set of functions out of that file somewhere else, instead of one by one yanking or killing the individual functions, moving them to another file, jumping back and forth between files, you could save those regions into a register, keep appending them into the register, and then once you switch over to the other file, you can just dump that register contents into the file and then move it wherever you want. That might be something that would be useful, but since I haven't actually done it, I don't know. Thank you, left pad. Yes. Whoops, I almost pasted all that text into IRC. Fade says, my main use of registers is to store my Emacs window config to a register, full screen another mode, and then restore it when I exit that other mode. Well, I mean, to me, winner mode takes care of that functionality. Or if you're using tab bar mode, there is tab bar history back, but you have to have tab bar history mode turned on. I think using tab bar mode, even if you don't actually use tabs most of the time, is kind of useful because it gives you the ability to have different window configurations that are not isolated, they're just separate. So you can switch between them if you're working in multiple projects, etc. And then if you only have one tab open, you still get the history functionality that's like winner mode, so you can use that instead of having to use registers to store window configurations. Nakatani says, I wonder if I could use registers to get my GDB Windows config to go back and forth. We could definitely do that, for sure. It would be a lot more reliable to pull back a specific window configuration than going back and forth in time with winner mode, etc. Fade says, I must admit this use of registers is the oldest part of my config. Well, that's pretty interesting. All right. Just clearing some notifications out here. Okay. All right. Prepend to register, another function for inserting text above the current register text. Seems pretty fiddly to me. I don't know if I would actually do that. Like appending makes sense. Prepending seems like I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to do that. I'm not really sure. Okay, so Control X RS. Okay, this is basically explaining what we're doing. If the mark is inactive, Emacs first reactivates the mark where it was last set. the mark is deactivated at the end of this command. C mark. Oh, hi, mark. Control U, Control X, RS, R, the same command with a prefix argument, copies the text into register X and deletes the text from the buffer. So if you use the prefix, the universal prefix key, Control U, before you save something into that register, it will kill the text at the same time so that it takes it out of the document. So that is kind of more what we were talking about. Use Control U first, and then you will be able to extract things into a register to get them out of the current file so that you can go paste them somewhere else. Ashra says, was that The Room reference? Sure, certainly was. All right, append to register. Benoit says, by the way, followed your path on using Emacs native key bindings. I mostly just replaced my space prefix to Control C. I still have most of my custom bindings easily accessible. And that and Avi was enough. Yeah. You don't need something like Space Max. You just need Control C because Control C is your key map. It's your own key map. So you just make your own custom bindings under Control C, and it's basically the same. Control C is pretty convenient to hit. And then using vanilla key bindings, you get used to it. I'm fine with them now. I'm at peace with Emacs key bindings. I have no problems with it. I'm actually trying to get rid of all my own fancy special key bindings like Control-Alt-J for buffer switching, which is super convenient to keep your hands on the home row. But if I go to a vanilla Emacs install somewhere, it's not there, so I have to use Control-XB anyway. So why not just use Control-XB all the time? Ashra says Meta X Kua mode. Nah, I mean, if you need to use Kua mode, that's fine. I don't know what Control-C gets remapped to, but yes, Ashra says to Peter, Control-C lowercase is reserved for the user. That's right. All right. Let's see. If you're collecting text using append to register, and you may want to separate individual collected pieces using a separator, excuse me. In that case, configure a register separator and store the separator text into that register. For example, to get double new lines as text separator, you can use the following setting. What? Hold on. Explain to me what this is. A register containing the text put between collected text or nil if none. Huh. Set register, register separator. It's weird that they would do that as a register. Why not just do it as a variable? Hold on. Wait. Is this the character? Oh, okay. You can put whatever name you want. Okay, so register separator is a variable you can set for the name, the name to use for the register separator register. And then you can set the value of that register separator, because the variable gives you the actual key for the register. And this is plus sign, I think. And you can put whatever string you want in there. That also means you can capture whatever text you want into the register separator register and then use that with your appending. So it is possible to do some fancy things with registers. I don't know that I would personally do it, but maybe there is a workflow that actually could benefit from this. Ashra says on Kua mode, Control-C is unmapped while no reason is active, so it does not conflict with your usual bindings. Okay, that's cool. That actually makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Let me check the YouTube chat. Hey, Rudy. Rudy says, not just lowercase, as you confirmed. As a user, you can redefine any key, but it's usually best to stick to key sequences that consist of Control-C followed by a letter. Yeah. It is... Control-C is great. I use that now for all of my own personal key bindings for things like maybe I want to launch eShell in a certain way or something like that. But I'm also using Control-X bindings a lot more now. I'm trying to get away from coming up with my own custom stuff. So if there's something that is like a third-party package or a community package that I want to have an easy binding to, I would probably put it under Control-C. What do I even have under Control-C right now? Let me see. In my old config, Control-C, Control-H. Some of these things I did not put here. Control C recompile, sure. Control C E for eShell. I have my own function for that. I don't use this file dispatch. A lot of note-taking stuff, org mode bindings, password store package bindings. I have those there. Wind move for moving window configurations around. I haven't really used that so much because I don't split windows very often. I do use my Guix key bindings, specifically the packages by name one. That's probably the one I use the most. So I don't do too much with Control C, but it is nice that it's there. I've also started using this next active buffer binding for RCIRC, but that one is put there by RCIRC, but that's sort of beside the point. So yeah, I'm using mostly the Control X bindings for things like Control X T for tabs, Control X P for projects, and then all the other normal Control X bindings you would see for standard Emacs functionality. So yeah, I'm getting pretty vanilla with it. Faded says, I've recently adopted Summer's idea of a universal map under Control Q. Control Q has utility. It's for putting raw characters into a document. So I don't know that you would want to get rid of that. All right. So yeah, this is kind of interesting, the register separator thing. I think there would be some value there if you are appending or prepending things to registers. The thing is, append to register is not actually bound to anything by default, so you have to use MetaX to run it, which is a little bit inconvenient, so you might need to actually come up with your own binding for that. I'm also seeing now here, append next kill, Control-Alt-W. That's cool. That's also a similar thing where you are basically accumulating things into the previous kill. So if I were to take some text here, Control-Alt-W, if the next command is a kill, it will append, sure. And then I will go grab some other stuff, Control-Alt-W, and then the next one, I'll go here, Control-Alt-W. Maybe that works. I'll go to scratch buffer, and then I'll go type Control-Y. Okay, that didn't work. But maybe what I'm supposed to do is Control-Alt-W, and then Control-W. Is that right? No. Is it Control-Alt-W, and then Control-W? Who the hell knows? What is going on there? Anyway, let's move on from that. How is Control Q more convenient than Control C though? Like Control C to me seems quite convenient. You're not really having to reach your hands that far. Big Edie says, when would you ever need to send a raw character in a shell buffer? Pretty often. Also, inserting Control L. So I don't really know if you use page breaks in your documents. I don't really, but apparently it can be pretty useful. So Control Q, Control L, you can insert a page break into a document, and then you can use the default bindings for moving between pages in a document, Control X and square brackets. So Control Q, Control L, Control Q, Control L. Control X, left square bracket, whoops. Control X, left square bracket, left square bracket, left square bracket. So you can basically move through the quote-unquote pages in the document. Ashra says, Prot uses Control L in lots of documents. Yes. Prot also has a really interesting package called Logos. We've talked about it before, which expands on this idea by making it possible to treat heading, outlines, and also comments in source files as pages. So you can use the same kind of functionality. I'm actually going to include something like this or something about this in the newsletter that's going out tomorrow or the next day. So if you're interested in this idea of jumping around in the buffer, sort of like paging, but maybe with a bit more of a configurable way, this is one way to do it. I also believe it is possible to replace org present with this. And not only can you present a org mode buffer, but you can present code buffers as well and try to treat them as narrowed sections of a buffer. So it can be kind of interesting. All right, what time is it? Okay, we're good. Anyway, let's get back to it. Back to the info file. All right, we're in here. So let's move on to the next thing. That's going to be rectangle registers, saving rectangles in registers. A register can contain a rectangle instead of linear text. So if you want to get some really funky text copies, like let's say let me just, whoa, hold on. There we go. Next and previous. Okay, cool. Is this what we're looking for here? I don't think that's right, is it? Control X, R, R, R. Why not? Okay, copy the region rectangle into register R. So let's go back into the scratch buffer. And I'm just gonna go right down here, and then what is it? It is control, okay, it's RI also. So it's the same insert command as for text and registers. A rectangle is the same. Excuse me. So if I were to use control X, R, I, R, that definitely looks rectangular. I'm not exactly sure. You might require rectangles for this, you said? So it did copy something. I think it's treating this as a rectangle. So the point min to point max, or sorry, region min to region max, it doesn't copy the whole line, but it does copy, if you can see where my mouse is going, from the top left to the bottom right as a rectangle, okay? So if I were to do that again, control X, R, R, capital R, and then go back into the scratch buffer, and then use control X, R, I, capital R, then it does copy that kind of rectangle there. And Eric says rectangles are also useful in org tables. Yeah, that would be. So there is a way to do rectangle selections in Emacs. It is, was it control X, control space? No, that's not right. Is it control X space? Yeah, rectangle mode. Okay, so control X space allows you to select sort of in a rectangle, but I think this won't actually work because the rectangle you're gonna get is the actual region between the original point and this point and not this part here. So we can verify that by control X, R, 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 and then go back into scratch buffer and then control X, R, I, R, and copy the rectangle. Is that right? Maybe it did actually work. Maybe it did it. So if I do it this way, does it work? No. Okay, so if you got a normal region selection, it seems to do it only from corner to corner. But if you do an actual rectangle selection, it seems to take the whole rectangle. So let me do that again. Control X space. Yeah, point and mark in Emacs parlance. Thanks, Jeff. So let me see if all this stuff gets copied. If I do this the quote unquote right way. Control X, R, R, capital R. Go back into the other buffer. And then we'll just drop down here. Control X, R, I, capital R. This seems more like a rectangle to me. Maybe. Not entirely sure. So that could be useful. Hey, Minas Mazar. Rudy says, and asks a good question, why have E shell and control C if you could do control X PE? I need to be using control X PE because that is actually what I would prefer to be using. Does it work normally if you don't have a project? It's control X PE. Yeah, it kind of makes you select a project first, which is not the worst thing in the world. I would probably just select dot files as sort of the default project for that. But yeah. In many cases, you would probably want an E shell that's related to a given project. There's also one for term mode or anti-term mode, I believe. So control X, control P, control H. Whoa, wait. Control X, control P. No, sorry. Control X, P, control H. There we go. So control X, PE is project E shell. Control X, PS is project shell. That's probably not what we want. So maybe there is not one. So if I were to do control X PS, what mode is this? Is this term mode? Is it shell mode, I guess, plain shell mode? What the hell? Okay. Weird. I'm not sure which one I'm using right now. Control HK, no, sorry. Control HF project shell. What does it give me? Start an inferior shell. It must be shell mode, which is a little bit different. Let's see, comment. Project prefix buffer name. Comment buffer. Shell buffer. Okay, shell. Gotcha. And then shell itself is run an inferior shell with IO through buffer. All right, cool. That answers that question. We're going to kill that process. We're going to kill this process. All right, anyway, just to get back to what I was saying, I do have a custom binding for eShell in my under Control C, and Rudy correctly calls out that you don't really need that. I don't really need it, but yes, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but someone in the YouTube chat says check major mode variable. That's true. You should do that. All right, back on the IRC side. Oscar says, you could split the window to see info and Scratch at once. Yeah, I could, but I don't really split windows that often, so I'll do it this time, just for you, Ashras. I would probably use Control X2 though, so that you can still read all the text, because the text is kind of big. Let's get back to it. So let's close that and get back into info. All right, we did the rectangular selection. That's all cool, great. Saving window and frame configurations in registers. You can say the window configuration of the selected frame in a register, or even the configuration of all windows in all frames. So I don't know if you're the type of person who uses multiple frames in Emacs. There are reasons why you might want to do that. Just to be clear on the distinction between windows and frames, a frame is like the whole Emacs window. So right now I'm just like dragging around this Emacs window as part of the desktop environment. Why is it not resizing? Come on. The tiny little grips, tiny grips. Ah. Track point. There it goes. Thank God. So this is an Emacs frame. It's what you see at the sort of desktop environment level. So that's a frame. Then windows are these splits that you get inside. So that's a window, right? So what it's basically saying is you can save the window configuration of a single frame, or you can save the window configurations across all frames as a register, and then replay them. Fade says, I do this all the time. Ashra says, I don't split windows that often, he said, while showing a split window. Yeah, somebody else did that. I didn't do that. Did I do that? It wasn't me. All right. Eric says, splitting windows necessary when using EXWM on an ultra-wide monitor. Yeah, if you're using EXWM, you have to split windows if you're using a wide monitor. That's for sure, because otherwise you're just wasting a ton of space. Gunn says, I'm using Emacs frames with windows showing tmux sessions with several panes. What are you using to use tmux inside of Emacs? Using EAT or vterm? All right. See window convenience for information about window configurations. All right. So Control X RW and then whatever register name you want is how to do that. That's kind of interesting. If you can save buffers too, there's things I could imagine that would be kind of useful for that. Erky says, I found switching to a narrow font made enough horizontal room to make splits very useful. Yeah, the Iosefka fonts can also work for that as well. Let's see. Astra says, and within those tmux sessions, is there a Vim running terminal, running Emacs? Yeah, we're going to get into real trouble going down that wormhole. All right. So if I were to do some window splits here, let's say I wanted to pull in a Dired not inside of the GNU store. How about if I want to go to my home folder? Yeah, all right, that's cool. Manifesto.txt. I didn't write a manifesto. It wasn't me. That was the manifesto we looked at a few weeks ago. So don't question my manifesto writing. Next would be what, like Scratch buffer? Sure, why not? All right, so Control X R W. I'll just say 1. Why not 1? Then I can use Control X0 to close a whole bunch of stuff and go back to another place I was in. Maybe even split the window here. Then I can say Control X RF 1. Now I'm worried that if I do this, it's gonna screw with all the other frames I have open. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but let's see. I'm gonna press 1. It doesn't seem to have done what I expected it to. It did not restore it, did it? Control X RF 1. Didn't do it. Let's try that again. So, sure. Let's do it that way. Control X RW1. Control X RF1. I will close a couple windows and see if I can pull this back. Control X RF1. Weird that it's not doing anything. Is there anything in the yeah, nothing in the messages buffer that makes it seem like something is happening? Fade, what do you do? How do you do this? Because it's not working for me. Unless I have to close the frame entirely and then pull it back up. I thought that you didn't need to do that. Oh, J? Control X JR? Wait, okay. Save the state of all frames, including all the windows. I don't want that. I just want the main one. Yes, thank you, Ashraz, for pointing out my incompetence, which is fine because I was being stupid. So let's go back. Control XD. No. Sorry. Control XJ. Control X, Control J. Whatever. I'm doing a terrible job here. I'm sorry. All right, cool. Then we're going to go to scratch buffer here. Control X RW1. Okay. I'm going to clear those out. And then I'm going to run Control X RJ1. And then it jumps back to that window configuration. So what if I want to save another window configuration? Maybe I want to have these things side by side without the bottom panel. So Control X0 here. Control X RW2. So I can say Control X RJ1, Control X RJ2. That is a long key binding to get back to previous window configurations. But if you're not doing it constantly, maybe it's not a bad thing. I would say that if you are having multiple window configurations that you're toggling back and forth between, probably you want to use tab bar mode instead for that specific use case. So tab new, which is Control XT 2. So I've got two tabs here. I can use Control X RJ2, and then I can say tab, what is it? Previous? Yeah, Control XTO. Or Control XTT. No. Control XT what? Is it T? Other tab. Yeah, I thought that was it. Oh, it's a prefix key. Okay, fine. I thought there was a more convenient binding for jumping between tab configurations. Tab switch. Tab previous. Control XT0. Next is Control XTO. Okay, so if you have repeat mode on, Control XTO will give you repeat keys. So when we're in here, Control XRJ1. All right, so you got both of these, Control XTO. Then you can just sort of cycle between them. I feel like that's easier to use than setting the registers for multiple configurations and trying to recall them, because you have to press a key sequence that is 1, 2, 3, 4 presses, let's say. A little bit long, in my opinion. Gunn says some rabbit holing is necessary to get WSL-based environments under control in corporate networks. Yep, makes sense. All right. Hey, Remastered, nice to see you. Fade says in the Twitch chat, which you should be saying in the IRC because that's what I'm watching primarily, to use jump to register. Yes. All right. So that tells us about window configurations. Now, we can do that with frames too, with Control X RF. It would be able to restore all of your frames to the same place. That could be useful. But when I use multiple frames in Emacs, typically I'm putting them on multiple workspaces. So as you can see, I have workspace number 1 here, which has my main Emacs frame. I have workspace number 0 on my other screen, which has a frame. I guess that's it. I don't really have a whole bunch of frames. I just have 2 desktops that have Emacs frames on them for different purposes. And I may even stop doing that. I'm considering using a single Emacs frame, period. So I'm not really a multi-frame person, but those of you who might be, if you're using a non-tiling window manager, or even if you use a tiling window manager and use multiple Emacs frames there, it could be useful for you to use a register to save the frame plus window configurations for the stuff that you're doing for some purpose. Eric says, I don't think of them that way. I use tab bar mode as virtual desktops. It is like that. All right. So next, keeping numbers in registers. There are commands to store a number in a register and insert the number in the buffer in decimal and to increment it. That's kind of interesting. You can kind of keep a little counter. What are you doing? Like keeping the count of the number of times that you screwed up your key binding usage during the day, or maybe the number of times that you, what is it? You said WTF while looking at code, so you can sort of capture the metric of WTFs per minute, maybe. Trev says to count your good boy points. I get none of those, so that's not really useful to me. Maybe to you, I don't know. Antonio in the YouTube chat, hey Antonio, says, I'm using eyebrows for this kind of window management. Yeah, eyebrows is another way to do it for sure. There's so many packages for this, but it's nice to have tab bar mode built in now. Maybe just needs to have more convenient key bindings for switching between the quote-unquote workspaces. Cal says, count penguins on your Antarctic expedition. Probably you got better things to do than sit around using Emacs while doing that. Okay. So there is Control U number. So you're using a prefix argument to put a number in. Store number into register R. That's kind of interesting. Control U 666. Control X R in 6. Blythe says incrementing numbers is useful. Blight says incrementing numbers is useful in macros. That's an interesting thing to say. Is that so that you can use a macro to paste out a number of lines and increment something that's in those lines as you're sort of writing them out? Is that how it works? It's an interesting application, sort of like putting together orthogonal Emacs features to accomplish a goal, which is something I don't really do very much. All right, so now I can say Control U. Wait. If R contains a number, increment the number in the register by number. I see. So you don't need to put number. You can put whatever number you want, but I'm guessing just Control U without a number gives you Control U1. So Control U, Control X, R plus 6. Okay. Control, well, let's go to the scratch buffer and try to paste that in because it should give us, excuse me, Control X, R, I 6. All right, 670. That's not right. What does Control U give you by default? What number does it give you by default? I thought it was 1. If it was 666 before, it seems like it gave me 3. Let's try that again. Control U, Control X, R plus 6. Control U is 4. Thank you, Ashras. Makes sense. So then we would say Control X, R, I 6, and that's 674. Verified. Okay. Control U is 16. Yeah. Ashra says, I really enjoyed incrementing numbers in Vim within recordings too, made explicitly defining enum switch case a lot easier. Excuse me. Excuse me for the coughs. I don't know. It's that season. Happening constantly. All right, so Control U1, Control X, R plus. Can you see this? Like, it's not actually giving us the keycast mode stuff up there. 6. Control X, R, I, 6. Yeah, it incremented by 1 that time. All right. Good to know. Control X, R, I is the same command used to insert any other sort of registered contents in the buffer. Yes, we saw that. Excuse me. Okay. So it should have told us that without the extra information. Control X, R plus with no numeric argument increments the register value by 1. So you don't need to use the prefix argument. Control X, R, Control X, R plus 6. That's still very long. So Control X, R, I, 6. Yeah. Still very long as a key binding to deal with counting a number. I don't know what would be a better approach for that. Control U, 14, F3, F3, F3. What is F3? Is it a repeat command? Helpful key. Is that right? Control H, K, F3. K macro, start macro, or insert counter. Insert counter. Record subsequent keyboard input defining a keyboard macro. Yeah, okay. It's record keyboard macro or insert current counter. F3. Okay, F3. Oh, okay. So you just press F3 a bunch of times and get a bunch of numbers. That's kind of interesting. Big Edie says long key bindings are supposed to be part of the allure. Not that long. Maybe 3 presses, not 4. 4 is too much. Or something that you would do repeatedly, I would say. So Ashra says, so Control U, is the chat coming up? Okay, cool. Yeah, you can see that. Ashra says, Control U 14 F3 sets counter to 14. F3 then insert 14. F3 inserts 15. You need F4 to stop recording. You can use F4, F4, F4. Whoa, what? Okay, so Control U 14 F3. Okay. Okay, so it's like the, whoa, what? And then you say F4 does what? What the hell am I looking at? Holy hell. Did I just kick? I got kicked from IRC. How did this happen? What just happened? Ashrods, what did you tell me to do? What did you tell me to do? This is some left pad bullshit. Yeah, you told me to do it. You told me to press these buttons. At least I'm still connected. Okay. I flooded myself out of the channel. Okay, so I'm going to put Ashraz on the same list as I put Case. Both of you can't be trusted to keep myself logged into IRC. Christ. Okay. Anyway, so that was my embarrassment for the day. That's great. LeftPad says, you're welcome. Yeah, thanks, LeftPad. Thank you, Ashraz, for almost getting me banned from LibreChat. We don't really need that. I saw things happening in this buffer, so I thought it was only happening here. Little did I know it's being pasted over in the IRC buffer as well. I have no idea how it would be there either. Maybe I switched in between the macro recording. I've switched over to the other frame and then came back. So it's probably doing a macro where it's going over to the other frame and then pasting a bunch of stuff in at the same time. Yeah. So those of you who don't know, and I'm no expert on this, but I do know that in Emacs, when you start recording a macro, if you do anything that causes a command to be executed, I think that gets included as part of the macro. So tell me how to pull it up. How do I pull up the macro? I don't want to run it. I just want to see what it contains. That was a great moment. Thank you. Thank you, Benoit. Yes, it was a great moment of pain and suffering. Last keyboard macro. Let's see. Where is it? I don't see it. I love that you can read this, though. So what happened? Did I click over to IRC in the middle of the execution of the macro? Is that what happened? That's kind of weird. Yeah, no. We're not trying that again. No way in hell. That's too risky. They're not gonna like me doing that on Libre Chat, so we're gonna leave that alone. So that's incrementing numbers. Focus follows mouse. No, but I may have switched workspaces on my own because I'm habitually switching between frames the whole time. It's too vague. Maybe. Hey, Robin. All right, next. Keeping file and buffer names in registers. Okay, so you can kind of like do this programmatically. Maybe that makes sense. If you visit certain file names frequently, you can visit them more conveniently. If you put their names in registers, here's the Lisp code used to put a name in file name into register R. Cal is telling Robin, we tried DDoSing Libre Chat just before you joined. Yes, thankfully it didn't really work, and I'm not banned yet. But if Ashraz comes back, he'll probably find another way to get me banned. Also, I have to add Summer Emacs to the list of people who have tried to screw me in the streams before because she was trying to hack the live chat overlay and put, well, she wasn't putting offensive imagery in there, but she figured out how to insert images into the live chat overlay. So it could have been bad. Bye, Summer Emacs. Yeah, David Will X did it. David Will X is the evil version of David Will, so maybe that's why this happened. I don't know. The reason why David Will X is there is because I can't actually connect to my Soju bouncer, so we're stuck. All right, so we have register settings for specific file paths. You can set a register, you can set this for a file and give it a file path, and then you can jump to it at any time. So you could create a register called capital D for your .files dired path, I suppose. In fact, we can even try that. Let me try just copying this line if I don't run a macro that kills everything. I'll put it into, let's go into the notes from the stream because we literally have nothing in here. Let me do this. This is gonna be some great show notes, I gotta say. So, no, not to do. Programmatic. Creating file registers. Sure. EL, paste it. I don't have it. Great. Fine. All right, here. I'm gonna put a link to my .files repo, or the path. I don't really need this because I use project.el for this kind of thing, but hey, why not? I will evaluate this, and now I can use Control X, R, J, capital D, and it pulls up a dired buffer for my .files folder. Okay? Benoit says, that was my only contribution to the overlay to prevent the summer effect. Yes, thank you, Benoit, for sanitizing the HTML. Bay says, I would have classified the summer effect as won't fix, too amusing to change. Well, no, it could have gone really, really badly. I had to turn it off because who knows what kind of images people would start inserting into the live stream chat. Don't want to see that. So yeah, it's cute until someone starts posting well-known images from the late 90s, early 2000s internet that nobody wants to see ever. You probably know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's cool. You could do that programmatically. What else does it say in the info buffer for that? If there are certain buffers you visit frequently, you can put their names in registers. For instance, if you visit the messages buffer often, no, because Control HE gets you to the same place. You really want me to put that in a register? No thanks. I suppose it's a good example. How about we use Scratch instead? You know, Control X, R, J, S to go to Scratch, but still, Control X, B, S, C, I don't know, fine. Benoit says, so what did we learn so far? Not to listen to Ashraz. I think that's the right thing, right? Ashraz says, or possibly inserts malicious code that hijacks your OBS browser would be a nightmare. Yeah, that would not be good at all. Ashraz says, also recording macros and inserting while switching buffers might not be a good idea. Yeah, that's not a good idea. We found that out right now. Okay, so that's that. Keyboard macro registers. It'd be interesting to look at macros a little bit. I don't know if we'll have time today. We already did look at a macro and it didn't go so well, but maybe another day we'll take a look at that. Def B is referring to the thing I was trying not to refer to, or one of the things, let's say. Jerry says, it's all fun and games until David gets banned. Yep. It would be not very fun. All right. So, if you need to execute a keyboard macro frequently, it is more convenient to put it in a register or save it. Control X, K, X, R. K macro to register stores the last keyboard macro. Stores the last keyboard macro and register R. Is that necessary? To execute the keyboard macro and register R, Control X, R, J, R. So Control X, R, J seems to be pretty universal for just activating what is in a register. So it's either Control X, R, J to jump to the contents of a register, which could be a window configuration, a file, a buffer position, and a macro apparently. And then there's Control X, R, I, which is inserting the contents of a given register. Okay. Alternate Vet says, ooh, that's helpful. Okay, you should explain it to me because I haven't gotten it yet. So Control X, Control K, XR stores the last keyboard macro in registered R. So what is it that starts recording a keyboard macro? Is that F3? Alternate Vet says alternative would be to save K macro as code, which is less than ideal. So K macro start, macro, or insert counter. Record subsequent keyboard input defining a keyboard macro. So that's only keyboard macro, I guess. Spoofed existence is when is the Why I Left Evil stream coming? Does your keyboard have thumb clusters? No on the thumb clusters. Did I already do a video on that? I think I did. Or sorry, not a video, stream. Live streams. Evil No More. That's what it was called. Evil No More. Go check out the live stream page. Look for Evil No More. I discuss it there at length, I think. I believe that Ashraz has found the same one. You want to watch the stream now? We can just do that for the rest of the stream. Let's just watch another stream. Let's go. Hey, there's the music. Is that me talking? Ashraz says, will the next week's stream be an hour earlier or later compared to UTC? Grease switches from... So apparently I'm talking to Ashraz in 2 different streams simultaneously. So that's great. All right. So, commands are recorded as they're executed. Let's react, finally. Let me react to my own stream. And then just, you know, regurgitate my own content even more. Maybe you'll get a copyright strike. That would be pretty funny. Trev says Ashraz might be a voice in your head. Well, that would mean that a voice in my head would be smarter than me. So what does that really mean? If a voice in your head is smarter than the person whose head it is? Seems kind of like a conflict of interest a little bit. Finally, some React content. Again, we're saying here. You're not going to make me do that, are you? Nobody wants to see that. It could be funny. I don't know. All right. Big Yeti says you have to go forward 40 minutes. 40 minutes to get into the content for the stream. Really? 40 minutes? No. No, it's true. It takes 40 minutes for me to stop talking so that I can start talking. Because, you know, it's Friday. It's a fun time. We're all here. You know, like, okay, sure, we can talk about stupid registers the whole time, or we can talk about some funny things in the beginning too. Reaction to my first video? Yeah, let's not do that. Bait says David Will is a yapper. Well, this is the most that I ever talk in the entire week. In this 2-hour span, I say more words with my mouth than I do at any other time in the week. I think the accumulated words that I speak throughout the week is not as much as I do on the stream. What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm desperate for attention. Alternate Vet says, Let's Distract David is a great game. Yes, it's easy to do also. Robin says, David Will's live reaction to Emacs changelog. No, let's, yeah, probably. From says, hey, are you learning Emacs here? Yeah, I've just started using Emacs and it's kind of confusing and I'm trying to figure out what this whole registers thing is. It really makes no sense to me. So maybe somebody can explain it to me. And maybe somebody could explain Emacs key bindings to me at the same time, because obviously I screw it up pretty frequently. All right, so macros. Nobody's going to tell me how to do it correctly. Peter says he's going back to the refrigerator. Apparently I'm boring Peter. Sorry, Peter. Ashra says Earthworm is a new viewer. Yeah, I know. I'm trolling the new viewers here, people. And no, that's not a fourth account. I wouldn't put it past you, Ashra. I don't know if you've got like 3 different accounts in the IRC right now. So what can I say? Okay, let's move on. Bookmarks. All right, let's talk about bookmarks, because there is some, I guess you could say, competition between registers and bookmarks as to what they're used for. Oh my God, what's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4. Alternate vet is Ashraz the whole time. Alternate vet has been Ashraz and Benoit. What the hell is happening? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Now we're just counting. So instead of using F3, I should have just asked all of you to just count out a monotonically increasing sequence in the IRC and then just copy that instead of using F3 and F4 and screwing everything up. So bookmarks are somewhat like registers, and they record positions you could jump to. Unlike registers, they have long names, so it's not a single character, and they persist automatically from one Emacs session to the next. The prototypical use of bookmarks is to record where you are reading in various files. So Control X RM. Now I can see why people were saying that it's confusing, because the bindings for bookmarks are under Control X R. So it makes it seem like they're for registers, but actually it's bookmarks. Control X RM, set the bookmark for the visited file at point. Set the bookmark name bookmark at point. What? Oh, okay. So if you use completion and you put the same bookmark name in again with Control X RM, it updates the bookmark position, it seems. Ashra says, I'm amazed that the first 10 actually worked in sequence. Me too, to be honest. Collaboration. Control X R capital M is like Control X RM, but do not overwrite an existing bookmark. I guess it prevents you from overwriting something. Control X R B bookmark jumps to the bookmark name bookmark. Control X R L lists all bookmarks. Then Meta X bookmark saves the current bookmarks to the default bookmark file. All right, so if I were to go back to the stream show notes, whatever, Control X R M, set bookmark name to default is November 8th, describing how to create bookmarks in code. All right, so I created the bookmark. Now Control X R L gives me a listing of all the bookmarks with the file that is associated with. What was the binding for jumping back to one? Control X RB. I can select one of the bookmarks in the completion area, and then it jumps me right back there. So definitely could be more useful for storing positions and buffers and files if you're doing an investigation on something, because at least you can give a full name to explain why you have a bookmark for it, and then make it a bit easier to track. And then since bookmarks are supposed to persist across Emacs sessions, then you can do a longer term investigation of something and store links to those things over time. Now, what about non-file buffers? Like, let's say info. So what if I'm right here in info buffer and I say Control X RM bookmark info? I'll kill info buffer, then Control X RB bookmark info, and it puts me right back into the info buffer. So that's not a normal file, it's an info buffer, but it can actually save that. Control X RL for listing them, it tells me that, it's a link to the info buffer, but it says it's an info type, so it must know how to store the position information for that manual. So it is possible to link to various different things in Emacs. Could be pretty useful if you want to create a set of bookmarks you can jump to by name. I don't really need that for a lot of things because I'm using project.el constantly for jumping to files inside of projects. So for me, it's often faster to not have to think about what bookmark I stored. But let's say, for instance, I want to go into my dot files and open up the desktop home service in my Guix configuration. Control X, PP, dot files, F, desktop, desk, SCM. Yeah, and that's it. So, I mean, there's a few key presses involved, but I feel like I can get there fast enough that I don't need some other approach to save a location to something like that. So I don't really need a bookmark to get there. I can get there just by knowing what file name I'm looking for and what project it's in. Same thing for the System Crafters website. Control X, P, P, net, systemcrafters.net is the name of the folder. F, let's see, dot files. So creating a dot files folder. So I can get to another show notes just by doing that. So long as you have your project.el projects sort of already loaded so that you can get back to them easily, which usually happens whenever you go to a folder with a Git repository in it the first time or use project.el to load a folder like that for the first time. It's easy to use the project commands to jump back to things if you sort of know what you're looking for. Otherwise, it kind of makes sense to use bookmarks. Bookmarks can be useful, but I just personally haven't found a reason to use them. Now, Thanos brings up a good point. You can bookmark files that you've SSH'd into with Tramp. That's pretty interesting. You can also bookmark sort of Tramp sessions, let's say. So that could be useful. Arnaud says bookmarks are very useful with Emacs dashboard. That could be useful too. Eric says bookmarks are great for when you have more locations to remember than your own memory can hold, especially for admin tasks that come up every so often, but not often enough. Yeah. So basically, you want to remember about a certain file or location, and you just want to create a bookmark to it and then not have to really think about it. You just load up your bookmarks later and pull it back. Oftentimes, I'll use like org mode links for that. I'll create a note with the note and create a link to a file or a location inside of that note. And that's a more permanent storage for me, but it's not quite as convenient as being able to just like tell it to jump to a bookmark and having that name right there. So I can see both ways of doing it for sure. Let's see. Seb C says bookmarks are great. Use them all the time. My first bookmark is my GPG password file. Yeah, that makes sense. Erfram says, what are the main pros of using Emacs from your point of view? I'm a V-Lite guy, a Vi-Lite guy. I tried to use Emacs, but it was a bit hard. What key points of Emacs am I missing? Vi is a text editor. Emacs is a productivity environment, and a very hackable one at that. So Vi and Vim and even NeoVim are more focused on just like text editing experience. They can do other things too. Especially NeoVim can definitely do a lot of other things, but I think Emacs is more of a productivity environment with a text editor because it got a lot of other stuff in it too, you know? Like, calendar and task management and project management and all kinds of stuff built in. So it's a lot more than just a text editor. People like to joke and say that Emacs is an operating system with a great operating system with a poor text editor or something like that. The text editor is fine. I don't know what people are talking about. Alternate Vet says, I mostly use consult recent file. I always forget about bookmarks. Yeah, see, that's the thing with Emacs. As part of the reason why I'm making an effort to use more in-the-box functionality is that community packages reinvent the same functionality in other ways. Or maybe they're leveraging other Emacs functionality and they make it more convenient. Yeah, sure. Why Vi? It's VI. Sure, it's VI. Yes, of course. So community packages make certain things that you can already do in Emacs more convenient in certain ways, but you can still do them with an in-the-box way in Emacs. So I personally want to try to figure out what the in-the-box way is in a lot of cases so that I understand it well enough that I can teach another person and also give my perspective on which one is better depending on what the needs of the person are. So if you don't really need an external package, I'll be able to tell you how to do the thing in the box. But if you think, well, I don't really like that so much, then I'll know what to tell you to use instead of the in the box thing if you want a better experience in a certain way. So I personally feel that there's value to knowing the in the box stuff better. Alternate Vet says there's recent F open files as well, but the interface is not as great. Yeah, that's for sure. Big Edie says, Big GNU paying David to shill for a poor text editor. Nobody's paying me. No organization is paying me to shill for the text editor of Emacs, okay? We all know this. I used to pretend that there was some shady organization paying me, but then I stopped because people were getting confused when I was yelling at somebody who did not exist. I don't want there to be confusion. I'm not yelling at a real person who's in my house. It's an imaginary person I created for the purpose of jokes. All right, you get it? That's why I don't do it anymore. I was concerned about what people would think. Do you use MetaX console buffer? Then F space will show recent files too. Yeah, console buffer is great. I'm trying to avoid using consult in my new configuration. Definitely not using Vertigo. I'm trying not to use orderless. Trying to see how I can get by without them because they're so damn useful and convenient that you kind of just want to use them. But yeah, I'm trying to get away without them. All right, let's get back to whatever we were looking at. All right, bookmarks. Let's see. When you kill Emacs, Emacs saves your bookmarks. If you have changed any bookmark values, you can also save the bookmarks at any time with MetaX bookmark save. It's saved to the bookmarks file. Let's see. You can change what file they go to. You can load or write different files. Sure. Okay. And that's it for the register section of the info manual. That's everything that's in that section. Jeff says, easy way to not use consult, uninstall it. Yeah, I have not installed it in my new configuration. You're not looking at the new configuration yet. I pushed it to my .files repo with the intent of using it today, and then Codeberg overrode it. So, great. Oscar says, there is one drawback of consult buffer, though. It's loading major modes. For someone like me who restarts Emacs often, the initial loading of org basically kills my performance. Yeah, that definitely can be a problem. Earthrum says, what do you think of using Emacs as a work environment and NeoVim for text editing? What's your opinion about this combination? I wouldn't bother. If you want to use Vim-like text editing, just install Evil Mode, the package Evil Mode, and use that because it's close enough. If you go through my original Emacs from Scratch series, just look at the main YouTube channel and it's one of the playlists there. If you go through that, I tell you how to set up Evil Mode as part of building an Emacs configuration from scratch, and that will get you into a Vim-like setup in Emacs. You don't need to use Vim if you have Emacs. Evil Mode is good enough. You can definitely do that. Some things will not be configured the same way. Some key bindings may not be set up immediately right, but you can often fix that with the right configuration settings for Evil Mode. Like Control U, let's say, to go page up, page down. You have to replace the default Control U binding in Emacs, but you can definitely do it if you need to, so it's possible. So if you want to have a Vim-like experience for the editing part of Emacs, you can do it. I stopped using it mainly because I wanted to understand sort of the Emacs key binding model better, and I'm glad I did it. So if you start using Emacs and you're a Vim user and you start to understand and like Emacs for its own value, eventually you could consider just getting rid of Evil Mode and trying to learn the Emacs key bindings the way that they're meant to be used. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. I tried it a few times to get rid of Evil Mode and it didn't work. And finally, the last time that I tried it, I was really I had made up my mind I was going to do it, and then it worked. It was fine. You just have to break your old habits, basically. It's not that easy sometimes, but if you have the will and the motivation, it's possible. All right. So that's it for the whole topic of registers. So what do we come away from this with? I think there are probably some use cases for registers. Copying text snippets to store them in a specific register so that you can pull them back later seems like it could be useful. How do you pull up the kill ring? Yank from kill ring. Yeah, so yank from kill ring. I mean, you already have a listing of the stuff that's in the kill ring. So you can go to previous stuff in the kill ring. So you don't really necessarily need registers to store snippets of text because the kill ring does that for you already. That's why they call it a ring, because it has more than one entry. It's a ring of entries. So if you're killing things from a buffer, you can usually get back to an older thing that you killed or copied from a buffer. You don't really need a register for that. So for that particular use case, it's not super compelling for me. Saving window configurations is not super compelling for me because you can use tab bar mode to do that, sort of. And you can also go back and forth in history on that. So what else? Saving file locations, you can use bookmarks for that. And that even works for other things. And those persist across sessions. Registers don't, by default, persist across sessions. So yeah, I mean, I'm not really 100% convinced that registers are something that I personally need. I have other things I can use instead. But there are people like Fade who say they use registers for specific tasks, and that's great. It totally makes sense. If that's what makes sense to you, that's what you should use. So part of the reason of going through this process of banging around with registers for 2 hours is to show you how you might use them, is to give you ideas for maybe like something you would try in your own configuration. So give it a shot if you think that it looks worthwhile to you, and let me know in the comments, or let me know on the forum post for the stream or anywhere else if you have ideas about how to use registers in an effective way. Bookmarks seem like they might be more immediately useful for specific purposes. Big Edie says, what's your preferred way for doing Vim-like marks? Well, named marks would be registers. Registers would be named marks, effectively. But you don't need named marks, really, because you can use the mark ring. And you can add things to the mark ring. Like if I'm right here in this buffer, what is it? Control U, no, is it? Hold on, mark ring. What is the binding I'm looking for? It's like control space something. I just saw control space. Yeah, if you use control space, it adds something to the mark ring. And if you use control U, control space, it jumps back to that location. And then control U, control space will jump back to other, oh, you kind of have to, all right, maybe there's something else that needs to be done for that. But the idea is that you can create your own marks. Like, let's see, right here at Waybar, control space, control space. I go down here to this location, control space, control space. I go to the top of the file, control space, control space. Control U, control space, control U, control space, control U, control space. It jumps around basically to the locations where I created marks. So that's one way to do it, to go back in history if you want to kind of like jump around a file. But registers would be the way to do named marks like you would do in Vim for sure. And Peter had said in the chat somewhere, Peter says, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, to use Emacs for some use cases and NeoVim for quick edits, but Emacs client starts just as quick and in the end has less friction. In the end, we all craft our own environment. Yeah, use whatever tools work for you, but also every now and then take some time to consider whether what you're doing is actually convenient for you or if it's actually causing more friction than necessary, and then try to find another approach. But that's just a suggestion, man. Like, you don't have to do it. This is all for fun. I mean, okay, sure, it's also for productivity too, but in some way, there is kind of a an intellectual game we like to play with ourselves here. How productive can I be with as few keystrokes as possible? I know that Vim users love that game. There's Vim Golf for a reason. But really, in the end, we're trying to get the things out of our head into the computer, or to move around the computer as fast as we can think, right? So that's sort of the value of trying to optimize or smooth or streamline your workflow, is to get the computer out of your way so that you can get around and do things as fast as you need to, as fast as you can actually think to do them. And I really think that Emacs is the kind of environment that gives you that ability, because over time you sort of learn what parts of it are useful to you. You get comfortable with certain usage patterns, and then you can move around really quickly. I feel like I'm super, super productive in Emacs now at a level that I'm not in any other program, just because I've studied it long enough. I've gotten comfortable with it. I've replaced other programs that I would normally use in the past with Emacs, like let's say using Dired or using eShell, or various other things as well. So like investing into using Emacs is great, because it will give you that ability to move around in your environment, kind of like a ninja, and get a lot of things done as fast as you can think. So constantly evaluate whether multiple programs are a good idea for you in your use cases, or maybe if you can try to centralize on one that can do a lot of things that are really convenient. That's my advice. Benoit says that should be rule number 1 of the Crafter Manifesto. I'm guessing he's referring to what Peter said. Ashra says, new System Crafter shop item, a silver ring with Mark being engraved. That would be pretty weird. Oh, hi, Mark. See you, Gun. See you, Fade. All right. Everybody has to leave, so I guess it's time to shut the stream down. Everybody left. Time to go. All right. I hear you. Alternate Vet says, bye, Summer Emacs. Ashra says, coworkers are amazed when I use Magit to rebase, rework Git history at the preparation of a merge pull request. Some of them consider switching to Emacs just for that. Yeah, the interactive rebase functionality in Magit is excellent. Supremely excellent. It is the most convenient way, in my opinion, to do rebasing in Emacs. Sorry, to do rebasing with Git, okay? Will the Git workshop include Magit? No, it won't include Magit, because I'm trying to go purely with Git fundamentals. Yeah, just Git using Git itself. I could do Magit, but I feel like I don't want to alienate people who aren't Emacs users. I want anybody to be able to come and join the workshop who just want to learn Git better. Yes, Ashraz, there is I'll tell it for everybody right here at the end. At the beginning of December, I have a workshop called Git Good, from basics to beyond, at 4 hours, where we're basically going to learn sort of how Git really works. The conceptual model behind Git, commits, hashes, refs, what Git stores locally, and other important things about Git that will take you from being an intermediate to experienced user to sort of using Git more like an experienced hacker. So it's 1-day workshop, 4 hours. We're going to go through a lot of hands-on examples, and I'm just going to teach you as much as I know about Git in that amount of time. Ashra says I should send some coworkers to that workshop. Sure. And if you want to, have a company, if any of you work at a company that will pay for trainings, for you to go to trainings, and you want to have the company pay for it, I can give you whatever you need to get them to reimburse you. So consider that as well. I should put that on all these pages. Companies often reimburse the cost of trainings. So consider asking your employer if they will pay for you to come to a training to use Git more effectively. I think it would probably work. So yes, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's on December 8th and December 15th at 2 different times on those days. So December 8th is at 9 a.m. UTC. At December 15th is 1600 UTC, because I want to make sure that people on both sides of the planet have the access to this workshop to take part in it. So yeah, please send me any questions about it if you have, but I'll be adding more information to this page as I develop the content in the lead up to the workshop. And I think that it will be a lot of fun. So definitely join if you're interested in learning more about how to use Git. I'll be making some Git videos coming up here soon as well, which won't necessarily conflict with what's going on in that workshop. All right, that's it. Let me see if I missed anybody on the YouTube side before I sign off here. Broke NVIDIA Shorter says, I'm configuring Emacs from your videos. Is it normal that it's taking 12 plus hours because I run into errors every step? Maybe. I don't know. It depends on what problems you're running into. You should definitely come to the forums, as Ashra's links in the chat. Forums are at forum.systemcrafters.net. Please feel free to come ask questions there. All right. So thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate your time and attention. Hopefully you've found something useful from the stream today. And leave a note in the comments if you have any questions or thoughts about what we should cover next. And with that said, have a great weekend. Until next time, happy hacking. We'll see you.